Soul 3, a realistic epic fantasy adventure by Wdowski. Note: for your full enjoyment, be sure to read or listen to the end and continue to the next chapter. Chapter 35. Back in his room at the inn, Pixa was asleep in the drawer bed he made for her. A fire crackled in the room's fireplace. Dale folded his hands behind his head as he focused upon the shadows of the flames dancing on the ceiling above him. He contemplated what their next strategic move should be. He was convinced East Riverton was safe from Lucifera, for now. Holding Littlefields gave them a strong strategic position. If she attempted to lay siege to East Riverton, the force they had assembled at Littlefields threatened her rear. Ideally, that fact could compel her to focus her efforts first on Littlefields. Her attacking them would buy East Riverton the much-needed time for them to complete the muskets and gunpowder. He also considered returning to East Riverton alone to consult with Greendale. Greendale was the one person he had the most respect for. Growing up, he thought there was nothing Greendale did not know. In his early 20s, Dale was shocked when he asked Greendale a question, and his answer was, "I don't know." Dale remembered actually feeling upset at the time. "How could you not know?" "What makes you think I know everything?" had replied Greendale. "You do know everything," Dale had insisted. "You have always had the answers." "Dale, for every one thing I do know, there are 1,000 more things I do not," he explained. "Perhaps you are finally reaching the age of asking more difficult questions. A good sign." Greendale smiled as he placed a hand on Dale's head and playfully messed up his hair. "You're growing up." Dale always felt that was the first day of him finally changing from a boy to a man. The revelation that his wise mentor did not have all the answers did not change the fact he still saw Greendale as a vast source of knowledge. And, more importantly, insight. It was only during this recent conflict with the demonic hordes that Dale began to realize that there was much that Greendale had chosen not to share with him. Like his ability to write a Neathish and his leadership role in the border war. He wondered what other secrets Greendale has chosen not to share with him. Dale was confident that if Greendale ever wrote a book on the art of war, politics, and tactics, it would deserve a place on the shelves of Marcus Weston's library. He turned his head slightly to glance at Pixa sleeping peacefully. "You are so beautiful in so many ways, Pixa," he murmured to himself. "It's too bad we're too different." "You actually like the little fairy queen?" came a familiar mocking voice from above him. He snapped his head up, seeing Lucifera clutching to the ceiling with all her claws. She crawled upside down, positioning herself directly above him. Instinctively, he sat up, pushing himself backward in alarm. He glanced at Pixa, concerned for her safety. "Don't worry about her, she's completely out of it," Lucifera said lightly. "She won't be elbowing you and ruining our time together this time." She spread her bat wings and gently glided down from the ceiling to hover inches above him. He could feel the air from her wings beating against him. She then reached out to him. Her hands caressed his face as she smiled with her glowing, bright blue eyes and bright white teeth. He felt bewitched by her seductive beauty. He closed his eyes to break her hold on him, shaking his head to regain himself. Opening his eyes, he stared back and defiantly told her, "I don't need her elbowing me to remind me who and what you really are." Lucifera, folding her wings, landed on his crotch, straddling him. He felt the pleasure of the weight of her body against his. Through his pants, he could feel the warmth and wetness of her passion. "Your mouth says one thing," she girlishly giggled, "but your more important part says something else." She leaned back, exposing her perfect breasts and nipples to him. She began grinding against him, her eyes closed as she enjoyed the sensation. He could feel himself becoming even more aroused by her actions. Opening her eyes, she grinned at him. "I think someone wants to come out and play. Such a long, hard, and big boy he is." She leaned into him, her hard nipples pressing against his naked chest. The sensation was almost too much for him to bear, but he focused on resisting her advances by tightening his jaw and mouth. Her forked tongue darted forward, attempting to part his clenched lips. He tried to move his head away from her, but her nails dug into his face to discourage him from doing so. "Let's do it," she whispered. He felt her warm breath on his ear, beginning to break down his defenses. Catching himself, he again tried to move away from her. "Let me milk your seed out of you. I want them planted deep inside me, to take root and grow." She became even more aroused with the thought. She closed her eyes and focused on pleasuring herself by grinding her body even harder against him. After her first climax, she opened her eyes to only be offended that he was not looking at her. He was mentally far away. Following his eyes, she saw they were affixed instead upon Pixa. She leaned into his ear. "We could do it right here, right now, right in front of her. Wouldn't that be exciting?" She leaned forward to look down at him. "Or, do you wish she could join in?" The thought amused her greatly. Unfortunately, she'll sleep through it all. She looked at him seductively again. "Just enjoy." She began to reach down to remove his pants. "Don't worry, she'll never know." His brow furrowed from the thought as he struggled to dismount her. "I would know." She stopped trying to pull down his trousers. Instead, she softened her expression, seeming to take on an innocent girlish persona. She leaned back into him. This time, she kissed him gently, almost lovingly, while her tongue again attempted to find its way to his. She stopped kissing him and looked at him meekly. Her voice softened greatly. "I know you want me. You are not fooling anyone, Dale. I feel your beating heart against my chest, and your throbbing manhood pressing up against me." Realizing she was not succeeding, she looked at Pixa again. "Her? She could never satisfy you as I can." Her eyes roamed over Pixa's small, shapely frame. Surprise struck Lucifera's face. She looked back down at him. "You're not a pedophile, are you, Dale?" She burst into delightful laughter. "So evil of you." Angrily, Dale finally found the strength to shove her off him. He stood abruptly from the bed. "Get out!" he shouted loud enough to wake the others sleeping on the floor. They could hear doors opening and feet rushing to his aid. Lucifera looked at the door, then back at him with a wicked smile. "I do love how you play hard to get. Until next time." She licked her lips. Then, in a flash of flames, she vanished, leaving no scorch marks, as if she'd never been there at all. Chopson burst through the door with several others behind him. All had their weapons drawn. "What is that smell?" he asked, recoiling. The others grimaced, covering their noses. The room was left with a foul odor of rotten eggs. Dale realized the unclean smell was coming from the wet spot she left on his trousers. He quickly took them and his undershorts off. Angrily, he chucked both into the room's fireplace. They immediately burst into flames as if they were drenched in oil. Disturbed from the nightmare, he stood naked before everyone. "I need a bath." Morning. He was still soaking in a large copper tub after he had scrubbed away any scent she might have left on him. Pete entered the room and asked if he needed more hot water for the tub. Dale looked at his fingers that were starting to prune. "I should get out. I don't think I have ever been cleaner. Thanks, Pete." "Sure, no problem, Dale." He handed Dale a large towel. "I found new briefs and trousers for you. One of the dressers in the other rooms had clothes I think should fit you." Pete left the room to let Dale dry off and get dressed. Dale was still shaken a bit, but fortunately he was able to rid himself of any trace of Lucifera. What he did not understand was that when she was with him, there was no sulfur smell. He remembered her scent being pleasant, like a lily, a rich and sweet fragrance. It was pre-dawn, but Dale could not return to bed. The night and the bath made it impossible to sleep. He decided to go downstairs and wait for the others to wake. To his surprise, John was already up and cooking in the kitchen. Hearing Dale enter the common room, John poked his head from the kitchen and directed Dale to take a seat at one of the tables. Dale sat at the table closest to the bay windows. He sat so he could look out at the town square soaked in pre-dawn light. Morning birds were already chirping and singing to each other. John soon came from the kitchen and approached him. He placed a ceramic plate in front of Dale with 2 once-over lightly fried eggs and 4 strips of crispy hickory smoked bacon. "I hope this cheers you up. I heard you had a rough night." Dale refrained from looking up at him. "Thank you, John." The breakfast looked extremely good, but he had no appetite. The others soon filtered down the stairs and joined him at the table. John brought out a full serving bowl of a ham and cheese omelet. He placed it in the center of the table with a serving spoon sticking in the small mound of scrambled eggs. Chopson was the first to reach for the wooden serving spoon, placing 2 large scoops of the omelet onto his dish. As he did so, he glanced at Dale's plate. He complained to John, "We don't get fried eggs and bacon too? Too many mouths to feed to do a special order for everyone." John explained, returning to the kitchen to fetch more food for the others. "The privileges of command." Tradesman overhearing replied as he took a seat at the table and helped himself to a serving spoonful of omelet. Pete and Zup also sat at the table, taking turns to help themselves to the hot breakfast. Josh came down next, placing one of his hands on Dale's shoulder. "How has the great author written you being this morning?" Dale avoided looking at Josh's smiling bluish face. "I am coping." "Coping from what?" Pixa was hovering behind Josh, making her way to the windows to take in the morning sun. She looked at Dale. "What are you coping from?" Noticing how beautiful she was in the sunlight, he remembered what Lucifera had accused him of. Reverting his eyes from her, he focused on his plate before him. He picked up a piece of bacon and dipped it in one of the egg yolks. "Nothing." He tried to assure her as he looked down, taking small bites of the bacon strip. She could feel him purposely avoiding her. It hurt her deeply. "Nothing?" She turned to the others at the table. She could tell they were all hiding something from her. She flew closer to him, yet he would still not raise his face to her. "Dale, what's wrong?" He insisted. "Nothing is wrong." All he could think of was the vile accusation Lucifera had made against him. He was beginning to doubt himself and was terrified that he was sexualizing Pixa, which he knew in his soul was inappropriate. She was not even a human female and was a 1/6 of his height. The idea of him desiring Pixa was unnatural. Perhaps, as Lucifer inferred, even evil. Pixa looked at the table of males, noticing they were all suddenly very quiet. "Will anyone tell me what happened?" She began to choke up that they were all purposely hiding something from her, and worse of all, Dale was uncommonly cold to her. Frustrated, she used the tip of her wand to force Dale to look up at her. Seeing the scratch marks on his face, she knew. Lucifera. Please continue to chapter 36.
To support the author, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.